As she enters the kitchen, she's a little shocked to see the sliding glass door wide open. And at the same time, she hears a serious commotion going on upstairs.
You see, by putting Kaylee with Murphy on the third floor instead of in the living room, like Dylan said, the state can pull crap like you see this young lady pulling. But if Kaylee's in the living room with Murphy, that means the perp could have never came through this door and left it open. Therefore, Xana walking in the kitchen and getting shocked because the door was open isn't possible. So that's why you change evidence in a case to make it fit your narrative.
A source revealed that Xana's phone recorded steps and elevation change, which is how it's known she went to the kitchen and the third floor.
Now, we have never seen any information regarding any step information from any of the victims' phones whatsoever. And if they do have that information, I'm going to be very excited to see it. But I do know this, that she says that she got that from a source. Now, she's going to quote a source 3 to 4 different times, and I'm going to prove every other time that she cites a source, it is 100% false. So I have to believe the source she's citing on the phone steps is false as well.
When she walked up to Maddie's doorway, she interrupted Kohberger, who had just finished an intense battle with Kaylee, who fought back violently. After a second or two, he notices her, and then she turns away. Being dark, Xana didn't realize what she was seeing other than a shadowy figure. Out of fear, she quickly leaves. A single source, unaffiliated with the media, claims Kohberger injured Xana on the third-floor hallway, leaving evidence of blood there. But this single source of information has not been validated by any more sources.
Well, don't waste your time trying to validate it with other sources because it's 100% false. Now that we have the forensic reports from all the samples tested, there was 0 samples of blood tested anywhere outside of the threshold of Xana's bedroom door that tested for Xana. So your source was absolutely false and incorrect right there. So I have to assume the step source was also a big pile of crap.
Continuing, Kohberger, without thinking, pursues her all the way to her room, not realizing he had dropped the sheath of his knife. And the time is 4:16 a.m. It's believed seconds ago he opened Kaylee's door to her room and saw no one there, but he left the door open. This allowed Murphy to come out and see what was going on. When Kohberger starts attacking Kaylee and Maddie in Maddie's room,
so now we've got this new fairy tale with absolutely no evidence whatsoever. Now we've got Murphy walking out of the room and barking at the assailant and then running downstairs and alerting Xana. However, to make this happen, she makes up Kohberger has now opened Kaylee's door, apparently seeing Murphy in there. And the natural response from somebody doing this, when they open a door and there's a room with a dog in it, they see the dog, they would then close the door because they wouldn't want the dog to come out and interfere. But no, this assailant's so dumb, he just leaves the door wide open so the dog can freely come out and interfere and start barking and wake up everybody in the house. Good grief.
Murphy starts barking. The barking was caught on audio by the neighbor's security camera. It recorded a number of barks, which helps in telling us where Murphy was at the time.
Now, I agree, the muffled barks tell us where Murphy was at the time, in the house, but they in no way tell us the position of where he was in the house by any means. And of course, we have to ignore the witness statements in the case and make up our own fairy tale to make this happen.
The sounds of barking grabs Xana's attention, and she comes out of her room to see what's going on.
And now, once again, the barking is the mechanism for bringing Xana out of her room. Remember, the original assessment was Xana was in the kitchen getting her food when she heard what was going on.
As she enters the kitchen, she's a little shocked to see the sliding glass door wide open. And at the same time, she hears a serious commotion going on upstairs. The sounds of barking grabs Xana's attention, and she comes out of her room to see what's going on.
See how now she just has Xana coming out of her room to see what's going on, where before she had Xana in the kitchen. And the reason she had Xana in the kitchen is because she was getting her plate of DoorDash. She doesn't want to bring that up because if she brings up the plate of DoorDash now, then she's got a real problem. Why? Because then she would have to account for that plate of food that Xana would have had in her hand, running all up and down the stairs and through the house and not dropping it until when she gets right inside the door where she dropped it when she was first attacked. Ha!
It also starts waking up Dylan.
So, since we absolutely destroyed the original animation that they leaked to Dateline into the world and made up a whole bunch of stuff like Xana's phone steps and inside sources telling you that Xana's blood was here and there, now we regroup and we make up more evidence. This time we're making up with absolutely zero physical evidence that Murphy comes walking into the room and starts barking at the assailant and then goes all the way downstairs barking. Now Xana has woke up because Murphy has startled her, and now Xana's going to still walk upstairs with no evidence of this whatsoever because that's what they want to believe in their minds with zero physical evidence. However, Xana had a plate full of food, so why is the plate full of food not in her hands as she's walking upstairs, that you have no evidence that Xana walked out of her room whatsoever?
While in the hallway, Xana hears commotion going on up in Maddie's room and goes upstairs to check it out. When getting there, she sees a stranger and yells someone's in the house and runs downstairs.
I heard her playing music.
How do you know it was her? I guess I should ask that.
I think it's because I heard her voice and she's probably singing. I knew for sure it was her when she walked upstairs and she said someone's here. That's how I knew for sure that it was Kaylee.
And I can hear Kaylee and Murphy like dancing because I can tell it's her voice and that it's Murphy because he's barking. And I can hear Kaylee because I can tell it's her voice.
You heard who go upstairs?
Kaylee and the dog Murphy. Someone's here.
I hear her go upstairs because you can hear like everything. And I heard her say, "There's someone here."
That's how I knew for sure that it was Kaylee.
When getting there, she sees a stranger and yells someone's in the house and runs downstairs.
So not only are you changing witness statements over several interviews of somebody saying they knew exactly who it was that said someone's here, now you're just changing it to Xana. Now, the first time you changed it to Xana, you had a little backup. You thought you had phone steps from Xana that put her upstairs, which was understandable. Then you thought you had blood from Xana on the third floor threshold of the door, which was understandable. But now we know you've got all the information because you've taken all that completely out of your animation. Yet you still put Xana up there in light of all the evidence and just make it up. And now you've got her saying words that the witness absolutely attributed to another person. Ridiculous.
When getting there, she sees a stranger and yells someone's in the house and runs downstairs.
How do you know it was her? I guess I should ask that.
I think it's because I heard her voice and she's probably singing. I knew for sure it was her when she walked upstairs and she said someone's here. That's how I knew for sure that it was Kaylee.
And I can hear Kaylee and Murphy like dancing because I can tell it's her voice and that it's Murphy because he's barking. And I can hear Kaylee because I can tell it's her voice.
You heard who go upstairs?
Kaylee and the dog Murphy. Someone's here.
I hear her go upstairs because you can hear like everything. And I heard her say, "There's someone here."
That's how I knew for sure that it was Kaylee.
Brian panics and chases after Xana, but he's unfamiliar with the step up to the living room.
Well, that's interesting. He's unfamiliar with the step up into the living room. So you're going to insinuate that he tripped over that step and fell into the Pong table, which you're not going to actually say. You're going to say something totally different than that. But how is he unfamiliar with that step up into the living room? If he came through the kitchen slider, he would have noticed that step. And if he knew where everything else was in the house, then he should have been familiar with that step. But based on what you're saying, if he was unfamiliar with that step going up into the living room, then he would have tripped over that step and fell to the Pong table. But that's not what you described. So which is it?
So he trips and flings his arms to catch his balance.
Dear Lord, help me. When was the last time that you tripped over a step and you flung your arms and knocked cups off of a Pong table, and that enabled you to get your balance again? I want you to watch how ninja-fied she has this. She says he trips, and then he flings his arm to get his balance, yet he never actually touches anything to balance himself. But watch how when he flings his arms to get his balance, he makes a sharp left hand and right hand turn around this Pong table like a super ninja. Watch.
So he trips and flings his arms to catch his balance.
Now, this is where you really have to pay attention at her double animation, because I'm going to show them side by side here in a minute, but you'll watch this portion of the animation where everything happens so fast and he's maneuvering around a table, and so is Xana, by the way, to the left side of the table, which nobody coming through there would have gone to the left. They would have gone to the right. But she does it real fast, and it's all nice and fluid. But then when we get to the breakdown of it, watch how it changes.
This knocks over the cups, further waking up Beth downstairs with all the commotion. As we were going through the scene, you would have noticed a bunch of red dots placed in different locations.
Now, I'm not going to point it out in this video, but I am going to point it out in the next video because she points to a lot of red dots. But boy, she sure does leave out quite a few red dots. But one of the red dots she points to that she's not going to break down is proof that there were more than one person involved in this crime.
These were markers left by the investigators. The scene here is where Xana sees Kober in Maddie's room. As he chases after her, he bumps the door with his left arm. This left behind a transfer stain that matches with Kaylee and Maddie.
This tells me she's been watching my videos because there's no way she went through and identified all these stains in this. She just watched my videos and seen what I identified and what I debunked her on. But here's where he bumped the wall and it matched Kaylee and Maddie with two different signatures of DNA. And here's where she messed up. This one she got correct. This one is a perp swiping the door after bringing Kaylee back up and attacking her in the room because it is a DNA signature of Kaylee 70%, Maddie 30%. Obvious swipe going from the inside out, left to right as the perp left the door. No indication that it was because of Xana. Here's where her little thing, though, falls completely short. It's the stain that's just above that she noted, stain number 48, that did not have the same DNA signature of the mixture. It was 100% Kaylee's blood, no mixture of Maddie, and unlike her animation, this blood stain is going from right to left, not left to right. It always starts with the majority of the blood where it starts and then swipes until it gets more faint as it goes in the direction of travel. Her analysis of this is disproven by the evidence 100%.
These were markers left by the investigators. The scene here is where Xana sees Kober in Maddie's room. As he chases after her, he bumps the door with his left arm. This left behind a transfer stain that matches with Kaylee and Maddie. Continuing as we go downstairs, you'll see some more markers. Kober's hand touches the rail as he runs down the stairs, leaving behind transfer stains, one resulting in DNA match of Maddie.
Now, this is where I know y'all probably heard of the magic bullet theory from the Kennedy assassination. Well, this is where this young lady has come up with this magic arm theory. I want you to take a look at this arm right here, because this arm is a magician in of itself based on her determination of what happened in this crime. As you can see, the left arm right here is creating transfer stains going down the switchback stairs. However, this particular transfer stain comes back 100% Maddie. Zero cross-contamination of Kaylee. Notice it's the left arm of the assailant. Now watch what the left arm, according to her, just did.
As he chases after her, he bumps the door with his left arm. This left behind a transfer stain that matches with Kaylee and Maddie.
So, this left arm that just brushed the door, according to her, and left two different DNA signatures, one 100% Kaylee, one 70% Kaylee, 30% Maddie, and within about 10 feet, it's brushing the handrail here, and it's just Maddie 100%, no Kaylee and no Maddie or Kaylee mixture. This left arm is magic. It carries three different signatures of DNA, according to her.
I'm finished with this guy.
Moving forward to the end, Kober swiped a corner, transferring these stains to 3 locations. All 3 of these stains tested positive for the presence of blood. As he rounds the corner, he holds out his hand to balance himself, creating another blood transfer labeled J.
This is all correct and taken almost word from word off of my crime scene recreation. Interesting.
He then enters the living room. He trips and flings his arms to catch himself. There are many things that support this illustration.
There's actually many things that don't support this illustration. Number one, you can't trip and expect somebody to sling their arm and catch themselves from their trip. If you trip and you go to grab something, you have to grab something stable to stabilize yourself, not sling your arms and knock cups. Good grief.
And we're going to show these details next, starting here. In this illustration, you can see an area saturated here with water. When officers first arrive, you can see these wet areas marked here. And as we move forward, you can see it here on the table as well. Let's rewind that so we can see it here again. In later photos, the water has dried up, but it is visible here and in many other videos. Here's another view from another officer's body cam.
Now, this is actually a good observation, which reinforces my theory. If there are triangles on both ends of the Pong table, and these are knocked off and the other ones never move, that means they set up a triangle of cups with beer in them. They were knocking the balls in the other end that were glued down and then drinking the cups from the opposite end. Now that does make sense, and that would make sense that they had alcohol in the cups still.
In this image, we can see here that 7 cups are on the floor. The other 3 cups remain on the table. Together they made up the triangle at the end. In this section, you would see how the cups would have been set up, each of them holding an inch or 2 of water. Because these cups remain undisturbed, including the bottle on the table and a few other items, it's believed the table wasn't bumped, but instead that the cups were struck from the side. In Beth's interview, she recounts hearing the cups hit the floor.
You heard the Pong table slide on the floor like someone had bumped into it. Did you hear anything?
Cups fall or something.
You heard what?
Either cups fall off of it or like the table moved to the side.
Now, this is an accurate representation of what Bethany said, but this is where they use selective statements. She should have also included this one.
That's what. And I think I heard Kaylee playing music too.
Okay.
Dancing with Murphy.
You see, when you have one witness that you assume was drunk and could have been mistaken, Kaylee for Xana, even though she said through 3 interviews over and over that she was very sure that it was Kaylee that went up and said, someone's here. Well, you might be able to discount it and say, well, she got it confused. But when your other witness backs up exactly what the witness said with, I heard Kaylee in the living room playing with Murphy and dancing, well, then you have to pay attention to what the other witness said, and it is going against all of the actual evidence in the case for you to change it from Kaylee to Xana in your made-up fairy tale.
Let's look more at the living room. Here you can see a list of different markers of different stains found throughout the area. All of these markers were diluted with blood splatters. What happens is, Koberger strikes the cups, and then flings his arms back through the fluid, diluting the blood on his gloves before it cast off to the wall.
Watch this one more time and watch what she does here, because I'm about to prove it's impossible. She points to the one little stain 39 that's Kaylee's, and look, she's got all of my mixtures. Look, he knocks it off to the right, pushes the cups to the right, but then slings all the blood directly onto the wall and directly onto the wall across the stairwell. This is where it gets critical, because first of all, she describes the assailant swiping the cups from left to right. Now remember, in the last video where there was easily blood all over the wall and it could be calculated and it was very safe to do so, she went through and did some amazing measurements, showed us how to do it, and really broke it down with trajectory and type and everything else. Notice that's missing from this. Here's what she did last time, right?
Here we can see how Maddie and Kaylee were positioned, along with both blankets and the 2 pillows. We can also see the splatters on the walls, which indicates the direction that splatters came from. Let's look at how the splatters tell us this information. Here's an example of splatters hitting a floor from a single impact. To find the direction of where it came from, you would draw a line through the tail and the center of the droplet, as illustrated here. The tail is like an arrow pointing in the direction of where it came from, so the source where it came from would be in the opposite direction. Now we'll measure the droplet, which will tell us what angle the droplet hit the surface at. This is simple math that can be done with a calculator, and I'll show you how. You take the width of 4 millimeters in this case, and divide it by the length of 6.8 millimeters. Notice how we exclude the tail and round it off to get the length measurement. Now let's do the calculator work. We enter the width first, 4 millimeters, divided by the length, 6.8 millimeters, and this equals 0.588 in infinity. Now go to the trig function shown here on this calculator, and select the second key. This will inverse the sine key, and once you press it, you will have the simple results of the angle that the splatter came from. In this example, it's 36 degrees. Now we'll go back and do that for each droplet. When done with that, we draw our directional line through the center of each droplet. Where all the lines come together is what is called the area of convergence. The last step now is to project our angles off of the center of the droplets, running parallel to its line. Straight up from the area of conversion, where all these angles cross, this is the location of where the splatters came from. I used this method from the forensic photos and came up with this illustration with blue laser lights shown here.
Now you're going to see all of that fancy stuff she did upstairs missing from this analysis. And by the time that I'm done, you're going to see why it's missing from this analysis. But it also tells me that this young lady not only has the knowledge, the capabilities, and the know-how to do all this, the fact that she doesn't do it based on what I'm about to show you tells me that it's not omitted because of lack of time and effort. It's omitted because she knew it didn't work. And that, I have to say, to me sounds to be maybe egregious. So if he swipes the cups from left to right, then all of the transfer stains found on the Pong table would be stains going from left to right. And that is not what we see with the blood on the Pong table in any way. When we look at the orientation of the Pong table right here, she's claiming that the assailant swiped the cups from this side to this side.
But said that the cups were struck from the side.
Which, if blood was to gather on the Pong table due to that, then you would expect to either see swipe stains or spatter or cast off aimed in that direction. But when we look at the orientation of the Pong table with the center crease line right here, same center crease line that you see right here, you see the true orientation of the stains. And they are coming from this direction, going this direction.
To find the direction of where it came from, you would draw a line through the tail in the center of the droplet, as illustrated here.
Her claim of swiping from left to right and being able to create these stains is absolutely ludicrous. Not only that, but the amount of blood that was on this Pong table that tested only for Kaylee Gonzalez, and then swiping beer cups, mixing water with whatever swiped the cups, and then somehow changing the dynamics of the blood that was just scattered on the table from that with blood that's now scattered all over the half wall and the railing, and it changing the dynamics of the DNA from 100% Kaylee to 90% Kaylee, 10% Maddie is absolutely ludicrous and goes against all the evidence in the case. And much like Paulette Sutton's misinterpretation of the evidence, she has this to contend with as well. Stain F, located on the side of the Pong table, that was not described as diluted and was described as a spatter stain. You see, this can't be true too. Watch the animation, watch the lines she draws. None of the lines end up on F. And this destroys her entire recreation because without F, a spatter stain that they attributed to an attack, and coupled with the fact that she's saying this accounts for the diluted blood in all of the samples, well, F was not diluted. So it absolutely destroys all of this by itself. Watch. In the initial determination of spatter stain F being from an active attack on on Zanuck or Nodal because they couldn't get their number system right, we find out later that it actually wasn't tested. It was likely Kaylee's because it matched the blood on top of the table. But the main thing is spatter stain F was never identified as being diluted. So your dilution from that is out the window for all the other samples. But there's proof number one. Nobody could swipe those cups from right to left, creating these blood stains and not have the blood stains follow in the same pattern. These stains go this way, indicating somebody was attacked behind the actual Pong table. Had nothing to do with who knocked the cups.
Diluting the blood on his gloves before it cast off to the wall.
Here is yet another impossibility based on the spatter. As you can see, the orientation that she's showing this, the person would have to throw the blood directly on the wall, and we know that didn't happen. Considering her previous work of actually going through and measuring out which way the spatter came from, I noticed she didn't do that in this one. But if she had, then she would have looked closer at the stains and noticed the direction that the stains hit the wall. And they're coming from a right to left angle on every single one of the stains. Right to left, right to left, right to left.
To find the direction of where it came from, you would draw a line through the tail in the center of the droplet, as illustrated here.
Right to left.
To find the direction of where it came from, you would draw a line through the tail in the center of the droplet, as illustrated here.
So her position that she has of the stains coming from a direct source directly onto the walls is impossible based on the actual spatter itself.
Because Xana was in the path of the cast-off, it creates a masked area where no stains are found, which is illustrated here.
That is a ridiculous observation. Are you saying that there's no stains found in between these two because Xana was standing here as well? Give me a break. Now, earlier she was pointing out different blood stains. And although she never mentions it in her actual recreation of this, you can see that she does point out this blood stain right here on the half wall next to the White Claw box. We'll talk about that in the next video because that is a bombshell. But also, she shows all of these stains, but she fails to show any of the stains that were found here, here, or here, which are the stains that's going to shoot this one right through the moon, and she didn't show them on purpose. Now, it's obvious you wanted to hurry up and get through this whole part so you could get into Xana and Ethan's room and continue on, and I bet that one will be much longer. This video is only about 5 minutes because you didn't want to spend any more time than necessary in this room. But after looking at everything we just looked at and the impossibilities based on your fairy tale, you need to do better, young lady. Quit spreading BS. And I wouldn't be so hard on you if you didn't assist Dateline in that leak of false information that you verify being false by this video that you just put together right here. Ridiculous. Please like and subscribe to this channel. Post your comments, thoughts, criticisms. Till next time, Pavarotti is out.